The police found a mass grave in my backyard. The knock on my door that morning felt like a bomb going off. I wasn't expecting anyone, certainly not the police. But there they were, two uniformed officers standing on my porch, stone-faced and serious. Their presence alone set my nerves on edge. Living in a quiet neighborhood, you don't typically get cops knocking on your door at 8 a.m. without a reason. "Are you James Larson?" one of the officers asked, his voice steady. "Yeah, what's this about?" I asked, my throat tightening with the question. "We received an anonymous tip. We need to check your backyard." At first I thought it was some kind of mistake. My backyard? Why? I'd lived in this house for 10 years. There was nothing back there except for an old shed, a couple of oak trees, and overgrown grass I never got around to trimming. But the looks on their faces told me it was serious. I stepped aside, and they brushed past me without another word, making their way through my home toward the back door. I followed in a daze, a knot of unease growing tighter in my stomach. As soon as we stepped outside, I saw more officers at the far end of my yard. They were already digging, large patches of dirt overturned, forming small mounds. A team of forensics was setting up nearby and the low murmur of voices filled the air. What's going on?" I stammered, but the officers didn't answer me. One of them held up a hand, signaling for me to stay where I was, while the other approached the group at the dig site. I felt sick. My legs felt weak beneath me as I watched. Then, all at once, the entire team of officers and forensics people stopped. One of them raised a hand, motioning to another to grab a camera. My heart hammered in my chest, each beat louder and more painful than the last. I couldn't see exactly what they'd found, but the shift in their movements told me enough. Something was buried in my backyard. And it wasn't just something. It was someone. I rushed forward, but the officer near me grabbed my arm firmly. "You don't want to go over there," he said, his voice stern but not unkind. I don't understand," I said, my voice trembling. "How is this possible? I've lived here for 10 years. I've never..." But before I could finish, one of the forensic techs shouted something to the others. Then came the words that made my blood run cold. "We've got more. Looks like a mass grave." My knees nearly gave out. I had to lean against the back wall of my house to steady myself. A mass grave? In my backyard? This couldn't be happening. I'd mowed the lawn 1,000 times, thrown BBQs back there, watched my kids play on the swings. How could there be bodies, multiple bodies, buried just beneath the surface? I didn't know whether to cry or scream. The horror of it felt like a weight on my chest, pressing down so hard I could barely breathe. "Mr. Larson." The officer from earlier was now standing in front of me, his expression unreadable. "We need to take you down to the station for questioning." "Questioning?" I echoed, dumbfounded. "You think I did this?" "We're not saying that," he replied calmly. "But we need to understand how this happened, and right now, you're the only one who can help us." I shook my head, tears burning the edges of my eyes. "I swear to God, I have no idea how any of this. How could I not know? I've lived here." The officer nodded, cutting me off gently. "We'll get to the bottom of it. But right now, we need you to come with us." The drive to the station was a blur. My mind was a storm of thoughts, horrific, dark thoughts, swirling faster than I could grasp. I replayed the last 10 years of my life over and over in my head. Every inch of that backyard had been part of my home. Every holiday. Every summer. Every birthday party. And yet, the bodies had been there, just under the surface, hidden in plain sight. At the station, they sat me down in a cold windowless room. The fluorescent lights above buzzed faintly, a constant grating sound that added to the surreal nightmare I was living. An officer sat across from me, recording my answers as I recounted everything I could think of. The previous owner, the renovations we'd done, any strange occurrences or odd noises I'd ever noticed. But there was nothing. Absolutely nothing that could explain this. Then they dropped the bombshell. "The bodies we found? There are at least 6, the detective said, his voice steady. "Preliminary reports suggest they've been there for decades. Long before you moved in." I felt a twisted sense of relief wash over me. At least it wasn't me. At least I hadn't been living on top of these horrors knowingly. But the relief was fleeting. "They were buried in layers," the detective continued, "oldest to newest. And the most recent burial, that one's not more than a year old." The room spun around me. A year ago. But I hadn't dug anything in the backyard, hadn't touched anything but the surface. "The autopsies show they all have no insides,"